Welcome guys to the second part of fifth lesson of this course, and in this lesson we'll be creating AI attack and respawn logic. So let's switch over to Unity. Alright, so let's hit play and see what do we have so far. So as you saw, we have finished working on a targeting logic in our last lesson, but there are a few things that I forgot to do in the last lesson, so let's go over them now. So let's go to our game manager and open up our players array. So you will notice that it only contains our character, which is the player controlled character, but actually this array is supposed to contain all the players in the game, including the player controlled character and the AIs. So let's do that now. So let's drag and drop our AI over here like this, and let's hit play now and see if that changed anything or not. So as you can see now, our AI is not moving anymore. So let's check what's going on with it. So I'm going to pause the game and then go over to my AI and then scroll down, and then if you notice the target, it's targeting itself. So let's open up our player script to see what's the reason behind this. And as the AI is not in the zone at the moment, we are going to check get closest enemy function, as this is the function that is responsible for finding the target when the AI is not in the zone. So if we come down here, you will notice that we are checking if potential target is not equal to transform. But there's a problem over here, that is our potential target is a player object and we are comparing it with a transform. So that will always result in it being not equal to it, and this part will always execute. So to fix this, what we need to do is come over here and do potential target dot transform. So now it's comparing same components. So this should fix the problem that we are having right now. So let's save the script and go back to Unity and let's check it again. Boom, there we go guys, our AI is not targeting itself anymore. But there is another problem now that we need to fix, that is as you can see over here, the score effects is spawning over the AI as well, and we don't really need that on our AIs. We just need that effect to spawn for our player controlled character. So to fix this, go back to our player script and then go to add zone score function, and over here let's do a if statement. If is AI, else. So let's copy this and paste it under the else statement, and over here let's just do score plus plus. So if it's an AI, we will just increase the score, but if it's a player controlled character, we'll spawn the effect. So let's save the script now and go back to Unity and let's check it again. Alright guys, so it seems like it's working fine now. So as the effect is only spawning above our player controlled character, and the score of the AI is still increasing. As you can see on the right side corner here, the score is increasing, but it's not spawning the effect. Alright, so now what we are going to do is we are going to create the prefabs out of our character and our AI. So I'm going to select and drag our character into our prefabs folder like this, and then click on original prefab, and then do the same with our AI. Alright, so once you have created the prefabs, let's start by creating our attack logic. So I'm going to go to my scripts folder and then create a new script called punch trigger. Open up our script. Let's delete these unwanted lines first, and let's create a new public variable, public player script, and let's create an on trigger function, on trigger stay, collider other, and inside this let's do if other dot compare tag player script dot punch, and we'll pass the other transform, other dot transform. So we are saying our player script that punch this object. So right now it's in red because we don't have a function named punch, but I'm going to create that in a minute, so it's gonna be fine. So let's just save the script now and go over to a player script, and down here let's create a new function called punch, public void punch, and create a parameter called transform other. Alright, so we are going to keep the function empty for now. Save the script and go back to Unity, and then go over to our prefabs folder, and then select our AI and click on open prefab, and then let's just close this out for now, and let's create a new 3D object, cube. Let's scale it a bit, something like this. Move it up. So basically this is going to be our trigger. So if any other player contacts with this box, it will call the punch function. So I'm going to add the punch trigger script to this, and then make sure that the box collider says is trigger is true, and then we can disable this mesh renderer as we don't need that. And under this player script, drag and drop our AI object like this. Alright, so next what we are going to do is go back to our scene like that, and then do the same with our character prefab. So go to prefabs folder, select our character, click on open prefab. Let's create a new 3D object, cube, change the scale like that, and then let's move it up. Alright, now let's assign a script, and then drag and drop our character object like this. Make sure is trigger is true, and disable this mesh renderer. Let's go back. So next what we are going to do is add the actual punch functionality. So let's go to a player script, and let's create few new variables. Public bool can punch. This is going to be true by default. Then public float punch force, then public game object punch effect, and then another boolean public bool stunned. So the player will get stunned when it gets attacked or punched. So this is for that. Alright, so let's go down now and create a few more functions that we'll be using in our punch function. So I'm going to start by creating a private enumerator, and this is going to be reset punch, and then just leave it empty for now. And then let's go down, and then let's create another one. So this is going to be a public enumerator. So public enumerator stun, and then after that let's create another function, private enumerator death. Alright, so let's go to our punch function, and let's do if can punch is true. We are going to set can punch equal to false, so it doesn't spam the function. And then after that let's change the animation state from run to attack. So I'm going to do anim set bool attack to true. After that I'm going to do start coroutine and reset punch. And then let's get the reference of player script of the character that we are going to punch. So let's do player temp player script equal to other.get component player, and then let's do temp player script dot start coroutine temp player script dot stun, and then let's go up and let's create a new variable called public transform puncher. So inside this variable we'll be storing the character which just punched us. So let's go down again. Over here let's do temp player script dot puncher equal to transform. Then after that let's get the reference of the rigid body of other character. So let's do rigid body rb equal to other.get component rigid body, and then let's apply a knockback force. So let's do rb dot velocity equal to transform dot forward into punch force. Alright, so now let's fix these functions. So inside reset punch, let's do yield return new, wait for seconds, 0.1, and let's set keep bone straight to false, and then let's enable the punch effect. So set active equal to true. We are waiting for 0.1 seconds as we want to sync it with the punching animation, so it enables the punch effect right when it's about to punch the character. And then after that, let's do yield return new, wait for seconds, 0.25 seconds, and here let's set keep bone straight back to true, then set punch effect back to false, and can punch to true, and set the animation back to run. So anim.setBool attack equal to false. Then in our stun function, let's do stunned equal to true, and then after that let's set our trail effects emission to false, because when we are stunned we won't be moving. So let's do particle system dot emission em equal to trail effects dot emission, and down here let's do em dot enabled equal to false. After that let's do if check is AI else. So if it's an AI, we will set can punch equal to false, and nav enabled equal to false as well. So if it's an AI, it won't be able to punch or move, but if it's a player, we will just set the speed to 0. We are going to let the can punch stay true, as we just want to give a slight advantage to the player over the AI, so the player feels more powerful. Though it's so minute and so minimal that player will hardly notice it while playing the game anyways, but it still really helps in improving the gameplay. So let's keep it that way, and then after that let's do yield return new, wait for seconds, 0.25 seconds, and so over here let's do if vector3 dot distance vector3 dot 0 new vector3 transform dot position dot x 0 transform dot position dot z is smaller than 12.5 f. Alright, so basically what we are doing over here is we are checking if the distance of the character is greater than or smaller than 12.5. 12.5 is the radius of the platform. So if it's smaller than 12.5, that means the player is on the platform, or else if it's greater than 12.5, that means the player has been knocked out of the platform and is falling into the sea. So let's go back here and I will show you how I found the value of 12.5. So if I move my character to 0, 0, 0, and then I will move my character all the way to the edge of the platform, you can see that 12 is right on the edge, 12.5 is over here. We can set it to 12, I think. So if it's greater than 12, it will fall, because 12.5 is already on the sea. So I'm going to set it to 12. So let's set it to 12 instead of 12.5. And if it's smaller than 12, we'll simply do stunned equal to false and re-enable the trail effects. So em enabled equal to true, and do a if statement. If is AI, we'll set the can punch equal to true, and nav enabled equal to true as well, and in else we'll set the speed to default speed. Alright, now in the else statement, that means if the player has been knocked out, we will check if the puncher is true. We will do puncher dot get component player dot add knockout score, and set the puncher back to null, and after that call the death function. So start coroutine death. So at the moment it's red, but we'll create the function in a minute, so it's going to be fine. So inside of the death function, Let's just do yield return null for now, and we'll come back to it in a minute. For now, let's create the add knockout score function. So I'm going to go up to our add zone score function, and then I'm going to duplicate it and then paste it down here, and then change the name to add knockout score. And over here, let's do +4. Do the same over here. Let's add a new effect for that. So instead of just fading it away, we will add a punch effect to it, so it pops out a bit more. Let's go down here and let's do t.do punch scale, new vector 3, 0.5f, 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 and for the duration, let's set it to 0.8f. Alright, so another thing that we need to work on is the text. So let's do text.text text equal to +4, because by default it's going to show +1, so we need to change that to +4. And let's also change the color. Let's do text.color equal to color.yellow. Alright, so now one more thing that we need to fix is go up to our update function, and in update come over here where it says if active and if it's AI. We are finding the target and setting the nav mesh destination over here. So we need to do another check over here, if not stunned, because when the AI is stunned, we don't want it to be actively seeking for the target or trying to move the nav mesh to the target, because the nav mesh is going to be disabled. Now let's go back down, and why is it red? So let's check that now. Add knockout score. Oh, okay, it's a private function. We need to change it to public. Now it should be okay, and it's still there. Why? Okay, I get it. I need to make it capital S. There we go, guys. Let's just save the script and go back to Unity. Let's go to our character. So first we need to make sure that we have imported the punch effect. So for that, go over to our hyper casual game course asset folder that we downloaded in lesson 1. Open it up and go to lesson 5, creating AI, and import the punch effect. After that, also import the fonts package, and go over to our prefabs folder and go to point effects and click on open prefab. And then let's create a font asset for our point effect. So let's go to Windows, go to TextMesh Pro, go to font asset creator, click on source font file, and then select Future Bold, and then click on generate font atlas. Once the generation process has finished, click on save, and then click on save again. Now we can close this window, go to fonts folder. So let's select our Future Bold font asset and press Ctrl+D so it creates a duplicate, and then let's rename this one to Outline. So this is going to be a default font, and then let's assign this one, and then go down to our font bold SDF material, and then go to Outline, and then increase the thickness to something like 0.5. So this is going to have an outline, and the default material will have no outline. So we will be using the default one for all the other things that we'll be creating in the future, like UI and buttons, etc. But we'll be using the outline one for our point effects. Once done, go back to our scene like this, and let's go to our punch effect folder and go to prefabs, and then drag and drop our cartoon punch effect into our scene like this. Then let's open up our player hierarchy, open up the rig, and then open up the right hand rig like this, and then let's drag and drop our punch effect into the right hand like that, and let's zero out the position. So as you can see, the effect is here. So let's change the rotation so that it matches the direction of the hand, like that. Once you're done, right click on it and click on duplicate. Open up the AI hierarchy, and move the duplicate that we just created to our AI's hand, and then go over to this one and then copy the transform and go over to the punch effect under our AI, and then just simply paste the transform. So it will automatically place the punch effect on the right position. Now what we can do is we can simply save the prefabs. So go over to your character and then click on overrides and click on apply all, and do the same with your AI. Next, select our character, go down to your player script, and under the punch effect, let's drag and drop our punch effect over here like this. Do the same with the AI. Now let's set the punch force to something like 15. Do the same with the AI. Now let's do the overrides and apply all again on both of the prefabs. Now let's move the character over here like this, and let's hit play. Okay, yeah, so we need to make sure that the punch effect is disabled by default, or else it will spawn right away as soon as the game starts. Okay, now let's save the prefab again. Let's hit play. Alright, so there is a problem because our AI is just sliding on the platform. So let's go over to a script, and over here in the stun function, come down over here where we are checking if the distance is smaller than 12, and over here let's do rb.velocity and set it to vector 3.0. So we'll set the velocity to 0 when the stun effect wears off, because right now it's still carrying over this velocity and it's sliding on the platform like it's moving on the ice. So let's go back to Unity now and let's hit play. Alright guys, much better. So one thing that I noticed is the +1 effect is hardly visible because it's white. So let's change the color of that to something like bluish. So I'm going to go to my prefabs folder, select our point effects, open prefab. Okay, we need to go outside. We need to get out of the play mode first, and then click on open prefab, and then let's change the color to something like blue. Alright, and then also increase the outline to 1. Now let's go back to our scene. Alright, so let's hit play and see if our knockout effect is working fine or not. So I'm going to try and knock the AI out of the play zone right now. So let's do that. Alright, there we go. Okay, so it seems like it's not working. So let's select our AI and let's go down here. So over here it says puncher is null. So let's go back to our script and see why is that. Let's go over to our punch function. So basically what's happening is we are calling the stun function before we assign the puncher object, and it is inside stun function that we are checking if puncher is true, then add knockout score function. So what we need to do is move this line above this line, and that should fix the problem. So let's save the script and go back to Unity and let's try it out again. There we go guys, it's working fine now. Alright, so our punching logic is complete. Now let's add the respawn logic. So inside this function, let's do if is not. So we are going to check if the player is not AI. We are going to disable the camera follow script, as we don't want the camera to follow the player while it's falling down into the ocean. So for that, let's go over to the top and let's create a new variable called private camera follow cam follow script, and let's set the reference for that over here. Cam follow script equal to camera.main.transform.get component camera follow. Now let's go back down and let's do cam follow script dot enabled equal to false. So this will disable our camera follow script. Next, let's do yield return new wait for seconds. Let's wait for 0.5 second. After that, we are going to set the game object dot set active false, and then also the transform dot position equal to new vector 3 0 minus 100 0. So it moves the object out of the way so other players are not targeting it. And after that, we will do game manager script dot start coroutine, game manager script dot respawn, and then pass the transform that we want to respawn and pass the delay. So we are going to respawn the player after 3 seconds. So let's do that, and let's save the script. For now it's showing in red because there is no function called respawn, but we'll be creating it now. So let's go over to our game manager script and let's create a new function called public IEnumerator respawn transform t and float delay. And inside this, we are going to do yield return new wait for seconds delay, and then after that, if game started, we'll do spawn t. And now let's create the spawn function. So let's do private void spawn transform t. Now we need to create few variables, so let's go up and let's create a public variable public transform respawn t, and a private variable private int respawn tries. Let's save the script and go to Unity, and let's create the respawn t. So I'm going to create a new empty object, move it to 0 0 0 and call it respawn t, and create a new 3D object under that, and it's going to be a sphere. Now let's move the sphere to the same position as of a player, or you can simply change the Z position to 10. So now we are going to use this object in a script to find random positions for our player to respawn. So how this will work is we will rotate this object to a random rotation. So say something like 87. So if I rotate it by 87 degrees, it places the sphere over here, and this is going to be a position where the player will spawn. Now we can rotate it to some other degree, say 256. Now the player will spawn over here. So it's going to work like that. So let's save this object under a level object like that, and go over to our game manager, and let's assign this respawn t over here like this. Now let's go back to our script. So what we are going to do inside this spawn function is basically find a respawn position for our player which is quite far away from all the other players, because we don't want to spawn the player right where the other players are fighting already. So let's do respawn t dot Euler angles equal to new vector 3 0 random range 0 359 0. So we are setting the random rotation for our respawn t. After that, let's do collider calls equal to physics dot overlap sphere respawn t dot get child 0 dot position 5. After that, let's create a boolean called player nearby equal to false. So this is going to be false by default. Then let's do a for each loop. So let's do for each collider c in calls. We are going to check the tag of each collider, c dot compare tag equal to player If it is, then let's set the players nearby to true, and then let's do if not players nearby. That means there are no players nearby our respawn position. We are going to spawn our object by doing t.position equal to respawn t dot get child 0 dot position, and then let's do t dot game object dot set active equal to true, and set the respawn tries to 0. Now let's do the else statement. That means there are players nearby, so we are going to check if respawn tries is smaller than 10, respawn tries plus plus spawn t, else we'll just copy this part and paste it. So what's happening over here is we are checking if respawn tries is smaller than 10. So basically 10 is our limit. So if we are not able to find a position that is away from other players within 10 tries, we will simply choose whatever position that we have and place the object over there. So let's save the script and go back to our player script. So this function is being called in our stun function. So that means if a player gets punched and gets knocked out of the platform, this function is called. But what happens if the player willingly walks out of the ring or willingly walks out of the platform? So we need to integrate the death logic for that condition as well. So let's go to our update function, and inside of this if statement, let's do if transform.position.y is smaller than -1 and not stunned. We will do particle system dot emission module em equal to trail effects dot emission em dot enabled equal to false, stunned equal to true, speed equal to 0, and then call the death coroutine. So start coroutine death. Let's save the script and go back to Unity. So let's hit play. So it did respawn our object, but it's not moving or nothing is happening. So let's fix that. So first I'm going to remove this sphere mesh renderer and sphere collider and mesh filter, as we just need an empty object. And then go to our player script now, and let's create a new function called void on enable. So in this, let's do if active can punch equal to true, stunned equal to false, particle system dot emission module em equal to trail effects dot emission em dot enabled equal to true, anim dot set bool run equal to true, rigid body dot velocity equal to vector3 dot 0. Then if is AI nav mesh dot enabled equal to true, else speed equal to default speed, and then after that let's do vector3 direction new vector3 transform dot position dot x 0 transform dot position dot z minus new vector3 zone dot position dot x 0 zone dot position dot z, and then set the transform rotation equal to quaternion look rotation direction. So it will make sure once the player respawns, it is looking towards the zone. So let's save the script and go back to Unity and let's hit play again. So it is respawning my object, but my object is looking in another direction, and also my camera follow script is not activating. So let's fix that. Over here, let's do cam follow script dot enabled equal to true. And to fix the rotation of the player, simply do minus direction and save the script, go back to Unity and let's hit play. So respawn logic seems to be working fine, but there is a problem that I have just noticed. That is, let me just first knock this AI out first so I can show that to you guys. So the +4 effect is still not showing up. So let's go to our script and go over to our add knockout score function and let's check what's going on. If it's in zone. Okay guys, we don't need that check. Now it should be working fine. Let's save the script and go back to Unity and let's hit play. There we go guys, perfect. Alright, so now let's create a few more AIs to make the game more fun. So what I'm going to do is go over to my character and then right click and copy component and go over to my AI and paste the component values so it places the AI on the same position as of my player. Next, I'm going to create duplicates of the AI and I'm going to duplicate it 3 more times so there are a total of 4 AIs in our scene. Next, I'm going to create 4 empty game objects and then move them to 0, 0 and 0. Then I'm going to select every AI and then parent them under one of the empty objects like this. Now let's rotate these empty objects. So I'm going to rotate this first object by 75 degrees, the second object by 75 into 2 degrees, and then the third object 75 into 3 degrees, the fourth object 75 into 4. So this will evenly place the AIs throughout the platform. Now we can simply select every AI and then deparent them by dragging them onto the hierarchy like this. And now we can simply delete these empty game objects as we don't need them anymore. Alright, now click on this lock and then drag and drop all our AIs into our player script. Alright, next go over to our AIs and then go down and then change the outside zone range to something like 5 and then go over to overrides and then click on apply all. And then let's just check if the change worked or not. It did. Alright, so now let's hit play and let the games begin. Alright, so there's a problem that I just noticed. My character is moving in circles. That is because when the enemies are punching me, they are applying torque to my rigid body, and that is why our character is moving in circles. So to fix this, go over to your character prefab, click on open prefab, and then come down over here to freeze rotation and make sure Y is true as well. Do the same with our AI. Now that problem should be fixed. Alright guys, so our attack and respawn logic is complete. In the next part of this lesson, we'll be creating another kind of AI. So see you then guys. Cheers.